The people wondered what could have happened, and before Eula could voice out what she saw, the braider disappeared into thin air, and everyone opened their mouth in shock as they witnessed the hair braider's disappearance. The people were petrified as they began to question who she was. Once upon a time, in a bustling African village market, there lived a renowned hair braider known as the Quiet Weaver. One morning, the villagers arrived at the market and found her sitting in a corner, braiding a woman's hair. They were all taken aback as no one in the village had ever seen her before. However, the woman never spoke a word to anyone, leading the people to name her the Quiet Weaver, as they all believed she was mute and deaf. Surprisingly, on her first day in the market, several women lined up, waiting to get their hair braided by the mysterious woman. She braided their hair so beautifully, and her unique braiding style attracted more women to her little corner. The other hair braiders in the village became jealous as all their customers now preferred to have their hair braided by the Quiet Weaver, despite the long queues. This made the other braiders wonder who the Quiet Weaver was and where she had come from. One day, a hair braider named Nia decided to stay back late into the night to follow the Quiet Weaver to her home. Nia was curious to know who the Quiet Weaver was and where she lived, so she waited back in the market, hoping to follow her home once she was done. However, after a few hours of waiting, Nia fell into a deep sleep. She woke up a few minutes later and noticed that the Quiet Weaver had gone. Nia was disappointed and wondered when she had fallen asleep. Nia decided to try again the next night. She returned home, feeling sad, and went straight to bed. Nia had a dream where she saw the Quiet Weaver shoving hysterically at a group of people who were locked up in a cage. Nia woke up terrified as she recognized most of the villagers as people who the Quiet Weaver had recently braided their hair. She was confused and wondered what her dream meant. She got to the market the next morning and met a group of women waiting to have their hair braided. Nia felt a strong urge to warn the women about what she saw in her dream, but when she approached them, they perceived her to be a jealous woman who could not withstand the fact that the people preferred the Quiet Weaver to herself. Nia retreated back to her corner, feeling terrible about what had just happened. She began to doubt herself as she watched the Quiet Weaver braid the women's hair one after the other. At that point, Nia began to feel as though she was truly jealous of the Quiet Weaver, and this troubled her as she decided to move to another market the next morning. As the Quiet Weaver's crew continued to build up, a young woman named Ula, who had been on the crew for hours, sat down to have her hair braided. Ula was new to the village and was in search of a good braider when she was directed to the village market. She arrived at the market early and met a very long queue. She wondered why so many people were queuing for only one woman when other braiders sat idly waiting for customers. This looked strange to Ula, who decided to also wait in the queue for her turn. After a few hours, it was Ula's turn, and the braider gestured for her to sit down. As the Quiet Weaver began to braid Eula's hair, Eula drifted into a very deep sleep and found herself being dragged into a cage by the Quiet Weaver. Eula struggled with the weaver for some minutes as she broke free and began to run. As she was running, she saw a lot of people locked up in a big cage, and this terrified her as she suddenly woke up from her slumber. Eula had never been this terrified in her entire life. She wondered what the dream was about, but kept calm as she noticed that the Quiet Weaver was still braiding her hair. Eula then reached out for her purse and brought out a small mirror to look at her hair. When she caught sight of a terrifying monster standing behind her, Eula, terrified at what she saw, screamed at the top of her voice as she stood up in fear. The people wondered what could have happened, and before Eula could voice out what she saw, the braider disappeared into thin air, and everyone opened their mouth in shock as they witnessed the hair braider's disappearance. The people were petrified as they began to question who she was. Eula explained what she saw to them. and everyone could not believe that an evil creature had been braiding their hair for months. Ula, determined to get to the root of the matter, looked around and saw the hair braider's wooden comb on the ground. She picked it up and began to examine it. She saw some weird symbols on the comb and wondered what they could mean. Sensing that there was something strange about the comb, Eula decided to seek the guidance of a very powerful woman. She arrived at the powerful woman's home, wielding the comb in her hand, and immediately the powerful woman caught sight of the comb. Her eyes widened in shock. She explained that the markings were symbols of a very dark spirit who traps his subjects and subjects them to pain and suffering. The powerful woman revealed that anyone whose hair has had any contact with the comb would live a very painful and sad life, filled with misery and misfortune. On hearing this, Eula was terrified at what would become of her now that the braider had used the comb on her hair. She asked the powerful woman what she could do, and the woman revealed to her that the only way to reverse the curse of the evil comb was to trace the comb's usage to the first person in the village whose hair was ever braided with the comb. The powerful woman then told Eula that once the person is found, the comb should be used to loosen the person's braids, as that will break the curse and set everyone free from bondage. Eula, now armed with the knowledge of how to break the curse, embarked on a mission to trace the comb's usage back to its first user. She consulted with the people who sold items in the market as well as other hair braiders, but no one could recall the first person who ever sat on the stool of the quiet weaver. Eula decided to return home, but had a strange feeling that she was being followed. Filled with terror, she ran home and locked herself in her home. After a few minutes, Eula heard a loud bang on her door, and this sent shivers down her spine as she feared that the evil creature was after her. Eula kept silent as the banging continued for a few minutes and stopped. Still shaking in fear, Eula remained in her home when she suddenly heard a voice talking behind her. Eula turned in fear and saw a pale-looking woman standing right behind her. "Who are you, and how did you get into my home?" Eula asked as her voice trembled with fear. The pale woman introduced herself as Nika, saying that she got into the home through an open window. "What do you want from me?" Eula asked, and Nika revealed to her that she was the one that she had been looking for. Nika revealed how things changed for the worse after the quiet weaver braided her hair on that fateful morning. She watched as her life crumbled before her eyes and wondered what could have gone wrong. All her children fell sick and died within a short period of time, and her husband left her because he believed that she was cursed. Little did she know that the quiet weaver was behind all her misfortune. Eula was so happy to have found the woman that she had been looking for. She convinced Nika to follow her to the powerful woman's home, and when they arrived at the home, the powerful woman asked for the evil comb, which she used to loosen Nika's braids. As she was loosening the braids, the evil creature appeared, and the powerful woman began to recite some powerful words as she continued to loosen the braids. With every stroke of the comb on Nika's hair, the evil creature groaned in extreme pain. Eula watched as the evil creature dissipated into thin air after the powerful woman successfully loosened all of Nika's braids. The powerful woman, with a smile on her face, declared that the village was now free from the evil grip of the evil creature. All the innocent people whose spirits were once caged by the evil braider were now free, and the people jubilated as they danced and showed their gratitude for their freedom. The market, once shrouded in misery and fear, now thrived as the other hair braiders who had been overshadowed by the quiet weaver regained their customers, and the village returned to its lively self. The lesson to be learned from this story is that blindly following trends without questioning or understanding them can be so dangerous. We should all learn to be discerning and seek knowledge rather than blindly following the crowd. Also, trust your instincts and don't dismiss warning signs, as our intuition serves as a valuable guide to keep us away from impending danger. I hope you enjoyed the story. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It helps us grow our channel. I'll see you in our next story. Bye.